Hi, welcome to week 4, Luke and Acts. In this video, we're going to go over the overview for the whole week and then a brief introduction to Luke and Acts. So what you see here are our learning outcomes, our learning resources. We're going to talk about the Synoptic Gospels in general, perhaps again. You're going to be reading Brannick chapter 8. Please do the questions at the end of the chapter. You're going to read the entire book, Gospel of Luke, chapters 1 through 24, the entire Acts of the Apostles, 1 through 28. So it's the Gospel of St. Luke. It's the Acts of the Apostles. We don't call it the book of the Acts. It's just the Acts of the Apostles. So you're watching this video lecture as an introduction. You are also going to be watching a video on Luke, a video on Acts, and that short segment from Jesus to Christ that we have from Hi, welcome to week 4. This video is going to give an overview of the week's work as well as a brief overview for Luke and Acts combined. So what you see by the end of the week is what you'll be able to do, identify some main characters from the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles, some events from Luke and the Acts, and then how are these connected to the Old Testament. And how do the main characters interpret the events of the Old Testament? So your resources for this week, you're going to be reading Brannick chapter 8. Please make sure you do the questions at the end. The entire Gospel of Luke, 1:24, and the entire Acts of the Apostles. We do not call the Acts of the Apostles the book of the Acts of the Apostles. It's simply called the Acts of the Apostles or Acts. It's the same way that it's not the book of Luke, it's the Gospel of Luke because it's a very particular type of writing. You will be watching a short video on Luke, a short video on Acts, and then you will be watching that short segment from the PBS special From Jesus to Christ. So you have a discussion that is due this week. You have a paper that is due this week, plus a quiz. So that's what we're going to be doing this entire week. I will again put on all those discussion questions that you can use as you're reading Luke, Acts. So now I'm going to switch my screen and sorry about that, and go to the PowerPoint for your overview. Luke is a very down-to-earth writer. Oh, shoot. Hi, welcome to week 4, where we're going to be talking about Luke, Acts. This video is a short introduction to what you'll be doing for the week, plus then a short overview for Luke, Acts. So what you see this week that we're going to be doing, you're going to be reading chapter 8 in Brannick. Please make sure you do the questions at the end of the chapter, all of the questions, including the reflection, please. You're going to be reading the entire Gospel of Luke, chapters 1 to 24, and the entire Acts of the Apostles, 1 to 28. I want to make sure you understand that it's the Gospel of Luke. We don't call it the book, it's the Gospel of Luke. That is out of respect for the depth of the 4 Gospels. And it's the Acts of the Apostles. We don't call it the book of the Acts of the Apostles. It's simply the Acts of the Apostles or Acts. You're watching this video now that has the week overview and a brief introduction to Luke, Acts. You're watching a video later on Luke, a video on Acts, and a short clip on Luke from the PBS special From Jesus to the Christ. So we're going to be watching those things together. You have a week 4 discussion that you have to post. You have a paper that you'll have to do, plus a quiz. Please remember on the quizzes that there are multiple choice, but then there are written responses. If the written response is worth 5 points, you probably need more than 1 sentence. So please, those are critical thinking application kind of things. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint for the overview, the introduction to Luke, Acts. So Luke Acts is a 2-volume writing by the same author. We know him as Luke. Luke was well educated. His grammar is absolutely perfect in both the Gospel and the Acts. Luke was probably a convert. We know that because he does not include a lot of Jewish customs. He doesn't even talk about Jewish customs. So because of that, he doesn't see that connection between Judaism and Christianity. He's a follower of Christ. He was not an eyewitness to Christ, but neither was Paul. Later we'll talk about Paul's conversion when he encountered Christ, but neither one of them knew Jesus in the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. So Luke was a follower of Paul. We know this because he writes, we did this, we went there. And in Philemon 24, Paul names Luke as a companion, and tradition talks of him as being a physician. Please make sure a physician today is nothing like a physician in the time of Luke. And then we know that he's writing to a Greek Gentile community. These are people who are Greek, who have come into knowing Jesus and want more. The date of his writing is probably 85 to 90. He wrote after Matthew, but he wrote in the 80s. He is a synoptic gospel. He tells the same story as Matthew and Mark. He adds a lot of sayings from Q, as you can see, from 951 to chapter 1927. A lot of those come straight from Q, and we know that. Both of his volumes are written to Theophilus, literally means God lover. So it could be an individual, could be a community. We don't know who Theophilus was. The Gospel of Luke ends with the Ascension. Acts of the Apostles begins with the Ascension. The Acts also end. Paul is in prison in the mid-60s, so he's writing the story of Paul, who was responsible for much of the spread of Christianity. His writings are very down to earth, particularly his gospel. It's often called the social justice gospel, the gospel for women, or the universal gospel. Luke is very particular in how he uses geography. In the gospel starts in Nazareth, and the journey is one long journey to Jerusalem. In the Acts of the Apostles, it begins in Jerusalem, and then it spreads out very clearly to the rest of the world, and that's all detailed for us. We don't know why, if in the Acts of the Apostles he's telling us about Paul's ministry, we don't know why he left Paul. We just know that he did. And tradition tells us that Luke was martyred at some point shortly after St. Paul was martyred. Thank you very much. Short video. I'm hoping it was helpful to you.